Call the meeting to order, the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District meeting of Monday, November 14th, 2022, the Greater Peoria Mass Transit, 2105 Northeast Jefferson Avenue. Roll call, please.
Hi. Trustee Ahart,
Present.
Trustee Polk,
Present.
Trustee Hare,
Present.
Trustee McBride,
Present.
Trustee Knox,
En route.
soon to be absent.
En route.
He's coming.
Couple minutes late. Okay, so we have a quorum. I pledge allegiance, Nick. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Receipt and reading of the minutes of October 17th. Everybody had a chance to read them, review them. Any questions about the minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor to accept the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Few minutes, that should get started.
That's why I give you the warning.
Receipt and reading of communication.
We have none tonight, sir.
Report of officers and trustees. Anything? Anything? Hearing nothing. Moving on. A report of standing committees.
I have one. I just said it down here. This is for the Stuffle Bus Committee. And we had our annual Stuffle Bus food drive to benefit Peoria Printing House. Officially began on October 28th with a press conference at Kroger's on Lindbergh in Peoria. It included a live radio remote and Cumulus radio station, D92.3. And I happened to turn on the TV that morning, and there was Miss Emily's face staring out at me. It was kind of creepy. It was like 5 o'clock.
If that's a compliment or not.
Yeah, right. I was like, I know, girl. The goal for this year is 11 tons of donations, and they will be placed on the 1975 vintage bus. We had the manual drum line there to entertain, and they did a fine job of it. As a mother of a drummer, they are practiced constantly. Anybody that has the option, don't push drums. Man. November 16th will be calendar day, and the people will be able to ride free with the donation of a CityLink calendar. November 18th is the 9th annual day of stuffing. That will be at the Kroger store located on Lake Avenue from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. WMBD Peoria Cumulus radio stations will broadcast live from the location, inviting people to come. And at this one, there will be several organizations or churches and the like that will have their own food drive that they bring to that. So that's kind of neat to see a commitment right here. November 19th, collection event with Peoria Police Department at the Kroger on Lake Avenue, 10 to 2. November 19th, a bus night at Peoria Mustang game. And once again, donation of non-perishable food. And the game will receive free entry to the game and a special giveaway item courtesy of us. November 23rd to 25th is Stuffle Bus Nights in Peoria Riverman Games. Fans who bring a food donation to the game will receive a raffle ticket to win a signed authentic Peanuts Charlie Brown jersey. using CityLink logo. November 30th, weigh-in day press conference. That's the final way to the food collective will be revealed at a press conference at Peoria Friendship House of Christian Service at 10 a.m. This is a tremendous amount of work that goes on with this. And some local schools are getting involved in the pizza parties with some other people on that. And you can check out the Stuff a Bus Facebook page on the internet. The most important and updated info for the food drive. Any questions?
Thank you, Sheriff. Report of the general manager.
I've got one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Program Development Committee. Corey Siebens, president of ATU 416, once again was requesting usage of our vintage 1206 bus for an event on December 1st. Purpose of the event is the Mid-Illinois Corvette Club to transport Pleasant Hill grade school students to Shoe Carnival to purchase shoes. And this has been an ongoing yearly community activity. So we're supporting that again as we've done in the past. That's my only report.
Good evening. For the general manager's report, kind of a few things there, a lot of meetings. I did want to highlight we did have 2 applications ready to go, one for a SMART grant. We were going to do this on our own, and the state is looking at a statewide fare box, fare collection, fare revenue, everybody collect the same fare. So we've kind of gone in with them on that. The SMART application is just a planning grant. So we'll find out more after we get through that process. Then they submit the ATTAIN grant. And we've already done the microtransit study. We didn't do it through ATTAIN, but we've got the same data that they have. So that's what we're going to apply for with the ATTAIN grant then. For microtransit, 3 years of service, a little over $7 million. The first year would be a low demand service for 1.77 million. And that would be 4 vehicles in the downtown area. The downtown area is actually over to East Peoria out to, just on the other side of us out here, Averyville, and then actually out to West Peoria, out to the airport. So it's a pretty big area. The second year would be medium demand service, and that we'd bump up to 6 vehicles running in that same area, 2.65 million, and then year 3 would be the medium and 2.78. So we'll see how that goes. Then also we had a meeting with Uber on Friday, and it was a very preliminary meeting. We kind of talked about some things we'd like to see. So they've done it in other communities. So they're going to get back with us after Thanksgiving, sometime in December. I think they had some meetings they shot out today for us. Some of the things we talked about were like safe rides to work. It would be like 2nd and 3rd shift workers. They do this in other communities. And then also like releases from hospitals, like when our bus services are running, like in the middle of the night, somebody doesn't have a ride home. And so there's a whole host of ways we can set these up. And so we're going to kind of, once we get some information, we'll kind of pass it on to you before we take the next step. But that's kind of where we're at on that. So, and that's about all I got for tonight.
Questions? None? Facility update. Ms. Beth.
It's on, it's on.
All right. Hello. So we've had a lot going on the past couple weeks. The punch list for phase A is 97% complete. Closeout documents, 99% complete, with subcontractors and the design team running two different things. So Drees Plumbing and A&J Electric, we actually had the new breaker for the compressor ordered. It actually came in the other day. It is installed and we are doing the startup on Wednesday. So we should have that all wrapped up and ready to close out soon. And then we'll finalize all the owner training for that phase process. As far as phase BPMD, A&J Electric, they installed the duct bank west side of the garage. Obviously, you guys, I don't know if you walked back there, but Mid-States Precast installed all of the precast panels. They came back and they'll be cleaning over depending on weather, and they did get some of the panels caulked the other day. So they are about 98% complete. Hanley and United Ironworkers, they erected the garage building steel and decking, and then they started on the admin. So that's moving right along, a few more weeks. RCC had L2 structures installed the tent. This actually said it was pending overhead doors, but they were installed, and there were some adjustments done the last couple of days on them. They were sticking. As far as the budget update, no adjustments to the GMT, 99% complete. And then we are 26.15 complete in construction for BC. A lot of exciting things going on. Any questions?
Thanks, Beth. Transdev General Manager, Angel.
Thank you. Outside of the report. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. Not very tech savvy when it comes to microphones. So in the report, you'll see the usual, just some highlights. We have 85% on-time performance last month, which is a dip from this summer. We have lost several drivers and have quite a few call-offs, but we're working with that. We have a few in class. One is going to be graduating this week. We have another class that is set to start on Wednesday. For that, we have 2 or 3 individuals, hopefully 4, but at least 2 or 3. Year over year, our on-time performance is up by 1%, or I'm sorry, is down by 1%. So we're working on getting that back up, but our ridership has also increased. Our ridership is up 25.5% year over year. So we're continuing to climb. So as we climb, we get more riders. Unfortunately, our on-time performance kind of starts to dip because our drivers are ebbing and flowing. We go up 4, we go down 3, we go up 5, we go down 6. So it's a constant challenge. So we're constantly recruiting. We have some really excellent agency partners. I have these new flyers that for driver recruiting that our agency partners are handing out and sending to the Hope Network. And so that's helping a lot. We're starting to get some more interest in that. Excuse me. So again, our ridership on the city side is up 25.5%. On the county side, it's up over 30%. So it's just steadily increasing. We are currently in negotiations. We had a few meetings with the ATU last month and this month. And so we are currently working on, just clarifying the contract, cleaning it up, some of the language up. Still having a really good conversation with them about different options that we may have. So I look forward to continuing that here in the next month. We are also participating in Stuff with Us. Emily is kind enough to drop off a box at our office. It's filling up, and we will be delivering that. The drivers and myself will be delivering that with the city lift vehicle on the 18th of the day of stuffing. So we're looking forward to that. The drivers have really gotten into that. And I want to say a special thank you to Ms. Pope, because the free fair days that the city lift team has not traditionally been involved in the free fair days. And we've had so many passengers. I mean, I've had passengers crying, calling me and thanking us. And I gave it all back to the board. It was really helpful. I mean, the majority of our passengers are fixed incomes, as I was mentioning to Doug earlier, and they really appreciated that they were included this year. So I wanted to just thank you for that. And that's all I have, unless you have any other questions that I can answer for you.
You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the public?
No public comments, Chair Behart.
Any old business? Hearing none, on to the new business. First is the audit presentation. It's Christine.
Obviously, it's required to have external audit every year, for our financial audit. And we hired a CPA firm to do our audit for the fiscal year 2022, for the end of June 30, 2022. So right now, the Lucas from the CKH honor to do some kind of presentation for us.
Thank you. My name is Chad Lucas. I'm a partner with SICKH on the engagement, and appreciate the opportunity to work with the district again this year. And I'd like to thank Christine and the rest of the staff for all their help during the audit process. So we have a couple of reports there that I've provided to you today. I believe that you've seen a draft of this report, but essentially the report has not changed from the draft. So the large document, the bound document, is the annual comprehensive financial report. And as Christine said, this is your audit report. The financial statements that you've presented here are prepared by Christine, and we assist with that process. But ultimately, these are your financial statements. And the financial statements actually go above and beyond the basic requirements for the audited financial statements. You submit your report to the Government Finance Officers Association for the Certificate of Achievement and Excellence in Reporting. And so that means that your financial statements include some additional sections that are over and above the basic financial statements. If you turn to the table of contents, you'll see that the first section is the introductory section. And the introductory section includes a letter of transmittal, the prior year certificate, information, the Board of Trustees, the organizational chart, and then some information about the area maps that you have. The letter of transmittal that is prepared by Christine includes like a history of the district highlights. And so if you turn to page 8, page 8 and 9 includes the highlights for 2022. So it's just kind of a summary of a lot of the highlights over the past several years. But then each year, the information is added to those previous years. There's also some information there about the future as well. The next section then is the financial section, and these are the basic financial statements that are required. In that section on page 19 and 19 through 21 is our independent auditor's report. And that independent auditor's report is what we refer to as an unmodified opinion, which means that based on our audit procedures, we believe that these financial statements are fairly presented. After that is the management's discussion and analysis, starting on page 22 through 30. And the management's discussion and analysis is a lot of good comparative information. There's a 3-year comparative information, FY 22, 21, and 20 included in this. And there's some discussion about why things increased or decreased on your basic financial statements. So there's a lot of good information in the management's discussion and analysis. If you want to kind of get an overall summary of the financial statements as a whole, the MD&A is a great place to get that information. Then the financial statements themselves start on page 31, and page 31 has the statement of net position, and that's actually page 31 and 32. And then this is comparative statements. So this is your statement of net position. This is essentially your balance sheet. It lists all of your current assets, your non-current assets, which include your capital assets, as well as that includes your construction in progress for your project that you have going on. And then on page 32 is your liabilities. And then at the bottom of page 32 is your net position. And so the assets less the liabilities equal your net position. And you can see there that your net position is approximately 54.5 million. 26 million of that is net investment in capital assets. So those are your capital assets net of any accumulated depreciation. There are a couple of restricted amounts there for employee benefits and for audit. Those relate to your property tax levies. And then the remaining 28 million is your unrestricted balance. One thing that I'll point out here, if you look on page 31, in the middle of the page in the non-current asset section, you have a net pension asset number. And this is your IMRF, your balance at IMRF. Ultimately, this is as of December 31st, 2021. IMRF does their valuations on a calendar year. And so you're actually in a net asset position at IMRF as of that date. Your assets on hand at IMRF exceed your actuarially accrued liability. Obviously, at December 31st, the market conditions were a lot different than they probably are now. So I'm not sure if that net pension asset still holds as of today. So let's see. If you turn to page 33, then this is your income statement, your statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. And so you have all of your operating revenues at the top, including your passenger fares and your transit services and your other revenues. Then you have all of your operating expenditures, and you have, you can see there kind of in the middle of the page, you have an operating loss before depreciation of approximately negative 23.5 million. Depreciation is about 3.4 million. So your loss from operations is about 26, almost 27 million. But then as you read down, you can see obviously that a portion of your funding comes, a large portion of your funding comes from your downstate operating grants, as well as your maintenance assistance and other federal grants, rural transit assistance grants. You also have property and replacement taxes of about 6.267 million. And so your net income before contributions is actually a net loss of about $1 million. And then probably the fourth line from the bottom there, your capital contributions are your grants that relate to your capital assets that you've acquired. And so your total change in that position is a positive net increase of about 7.9 million. Then on page 34 and 35 are your cash flow statements. And this just provides information about cash flows from operating activities, non-capital financing activities, capital-related financing activities, and investing activities. Obviously, in the third section down there, the capital and related financing activities, you can see there that your purchases of capital assets were almost $10 million for the current year due to your construction activity. So your change in that cash position, third line from the bottom there on page 34, was in the current year a negative 2,072,000. Following that then is, starting on page 36 is your notes to the financial statements. I won't go through these in detail unless you'd like me to, but this is where all your significant accounting policies are listed. There's more detail about your cash and investments, about your capital asset activity, about your IMRF information, as well as any other post-employment benefits liability that you have as well. Then after that is, starting on page 68, is your required supplementary information. And on page 68 and 69 are information about your IMRF plan. And so we're required to disclose 10 years of trend information related to IMRF. And you can see there we have, I think we have 8 years. And so we'll build this out until there's 10 years of information available. But you can see 2014 through 2021. The top section is the total pension liability that is calculated, the actuarial liability at IMRF. You can see the left hand column there, the December 31st, 2021. Your liability was about 53.5 million. And then the section B is the assets that are on hand at IMRF. And you can see that line 8 under section B, your assets on hand at IMRF were 58.8 million. And so that makes a net pension asset. So your assets are more than your liabilities by about 5.3 million. But you can kind of see the trend information there over the last 8 years. You've had a net pension liability for the first 7 years, and it's gone down. And a lot of that has to do with the market conditions. If you look on line 3 under the section B, you'll see the net investment income on the assets that are held at IMRF. And so over the last 3 years, there's been some pretty big numbers in terms of investment returns. Page 69 then is your required contributions to IMRF. Again, it's just 8 years worth of information. This will eventually be 10 years of trend information. I'm holding pretty steady around the $1 million mark with IMRF contributions, which you would expect with your position being an asset. You almost expected to see it go down, but obviously there's some factors in there that probably include future actuarial assumptions. So then there's some notes to that on page 70 and 71, 72, and then page 73 is information about, I'm sorry, page 71 is information about your other post-employment benefits. And so your OPEB liability actually went down from 18 million in 2021 to a little under 16 million in 2022. Part of that has to do with the change in assumptions. There's a discount rate that's used in the actuarial calculation. That since you're not pre-funding this, the discount rate is based on the 20-year tax-exempt GO bond rate, and that changed from 2.6 to 4.9%, which affected the change in assumption amount. Then after that is the next section, the statistical section, and this is another section that's over and above the basic requirements. So we completed the basic financial statements there. This next section, statistical, it has trend information, financial trends, revenue capacity, demographic and economic information, and operating information. And there's a lot of good trend information, 10 years worth of trend information in each of those categories in these schedules. Again, this is something that's required by the GFOA Certificate of Achievement Program, which you participate in. And then the last section is we have included the grant-related section. So starting on page 89 is our government auditing standards report. Since you expend more than $750,000 in federal expenditures, we're required to do a single audit related to those federal expenditures. And so we have a couple of reports here related to those expenditures, but if you turn over to page 94, page 94 is a list of all the federal expenditures that the district had for FY22. And so the total was a little over 9.2 million in federal expenditures. And you can see there that first section, the total federal transit cluster, that was approximately 93% of your total expenditures from the federal transit formula grants, the bus and bus facility formula program grants. So that was considered the major program. And so we tested the major program. So that was about 93% of your total federal expenditures that were subject to the testing that we did for single audit purposes. Then on page 98, so there's a few reports, compliance reports, and schedules that are associated with your Illinois Department of Transportation grants that you received. Page 98 is our report on your downstate operating assistance grant. So our opinion indicates that you complied with your grant requirements. If you turn over to page 99, then this just is a schedule of those downstate operating assistance grant calculations. There's a prescribed report that is required, and this satisfies that reporting requirement. The top section there is your operating revenues and income. Then you have operating expenses. There's some ineligible expenses. And then we come down to total eligible expenses there, kind of in the middle of the page, about 26.291011. You have a deficit between the calculations of the operating expenses and the revenues, and then your eligibility is 65% of those eligible expenses. So your total eligible expenses were a little over $17 million. So you received, during the year, received about 13 of that. So at the end of the year, you had a receivable of about 3.7 million. Page 101 then is the report on the 5311 operating assistance grant. And then page 102 and 103 is that those schedules relating to that grant, which was $147,000. And then page 105 is the 5311 CARES operating assistance grant. And pages 106 and 107 are the schedules required for that grant, which was about $380,000. That's kind of a quick summary of the comprehensive annual financial report. Be happy to try and answer any questions that you have, or if you have some questions further, I'd be happy to come back and try to address those as well.
Board have any questions?
The other document that we have for you is the auditor's communication to the president, board of trustees, and management. And so this is some required communications that we have at the end of the audit process. Page 1 is the cover letter. Page 2 starts the required communications that we have to provide. And it indicates in here that we had to evaluate some estimates that are included in the audit process. Those estimates include depreciable useful lives for your capital assets, some assumptions and related to your pension liability and IMRF, and as well as the OPEB liability. And then there's also some estimates associated with the claims and losses in your claim lag report for your self-insurance amounts. Page 3, no difficulties encountered. We did have a couple of adjusting journal entries under the corrected and uncorrected statements. I'll go through those in a second here. The disagreements, no disagreements with management. We did receive a representation letter from management indicating that everything that they provided to us was fairly presented. To our knowledge, there were no other consultations with other auditors. And then we did have a couple of findings that we identified, and we'll go through those in a second, which we discussed with management. So Page 5, then, there was just, as I mentioned, a couple of journal entries that we proposed. Both of these were really not considered material to the financial statements, but since they related to your accounts receivable for grant programs, we did make these adjustments. The first one was some retainage payable on your construction contract wasn't recorded. So we recorded that transaction. And then the second one was just a small adjustment to the calculation that Christine did for the downstate operating assistance accounts receivable. Page 6 then is, this is a list of adjustments that we passed on. And so the first line is the current year effect on the prior past journal entries. The first line really relates to, there's a GASB pronouncement that deals with asset retirement obligations. And so there's some, I believe, some fuel storage tanks that there was an estimate completed, no specific, I guess, consulting done, but it was kind of an estimate on what it would cost if the tanks had to be removed, and so there was a liability determined. It was considered immaterial for financial reporting purposes, so we've included it on here. We haven't made an adjustment for it. A couple other items there, but all these things are considered immaterial to the financial statements for our purposes. Then page 7 and 8 are the management letter. And so we didn't have any, we did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls. But we did identify a couple of things that we have as recommendations for improvement, some small control deficiencies. I believe that all 3 of these were repeat comments from the prior year. And so the first one there is just related to that adjusting journal entry that we had, the retainage payable. Just a reminder to record the retainage associated with the contracts for your accrual-based financial statements. The user control, access controls, I believe this again is just some controls related to monitoring and management controls report to detect and prevent unauthorized activities. And so we just have a couple of recommendations there. Implement a process to record and monitor changes to the user's access accounts, including approval by new users by management, and review a process on a quarterly basis to validate account activity. And then the last one there is just for your OPEB liability, you have to provide them some census data for them to complete the actuarial calculation. And we noted that some of the start dates on the census data included the trainee period and the part-time period, and they should be based on the full-time hires, which are when they become eligible for other post-employment benefits. So that's a quick summary of the 2 reports. Be happy to try and answer any questions that you may have.
Board, any questions at this time? Hearing none, I don't think that we're good, Chuck.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did we get a new microphone or something, because everything's so colored?
All right, next resolution, B 2313, memorandum of understanding for public service announcements from the Peoria County Health Department. Emily.
Good evening, can you hear me? I'm gonna let you guys pass this around. This is an example of a PSA that they did this year for the health department, so you can kind of see exactly what it is you're approving. This is for a memorandum of understanding between the Peoria City County Health Department and GPMTD. This is something that we have done for the past several years, where we have an agreement with them that they are able to use our interior advertising space at no cost to put out PSAs such as the one that you're handing out right now or looking at right now. This is the only one that they actually did this year, but they have done others in the past. And so this is just a agreement with them that they're able to use the space at no cost. They do all the production themselves, so all we're doing is really offering the space at no cost. And we feel that this is something that is a benefit to our riders to have these PSAs available for them to view. And it is recommended that the board approve us to continue this memorandum of understanding with the Peoria City County Health Department and GPMTD.
Questions?
Do they go on the inside of the bus?
Yes, these are for the inside of the bus only.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
In a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of the memorandum, resolution 2313, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, motion passed.
Thank you.
Resolution 2314, contract award recommendation for renewal of dental and vision insurance to Delta Dental iMed Insurance from January 1, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Jen.
Good evening, everyone. So as you see before you, the resolution you have is to renew our dental and vision insurance for our employees. We currently do have Delta Dental. They cover both the dental and the vision. Since my time here, that I've worked here, there has never been an increase in these premiums. However, this year, like everything else, the dental has increased by 3%. The vision remained the same. So there was a slight increase this year, but it is still one of the most affordable ones for us and the district. And so we would recommend that you do vote to renew this contract with Delta Dental that will run January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023.
Questions?
I just have one.
Sure.
These payments, are they paid by the employee or do we pay them for them?
12% of those numbers you see there are paid by the employee, and
Okay.
the district covers the rest.
Any other questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
So move.
Second. All in favor of approving a resolution 2314, say aye.
Aye.
Negative or nays? None. Motion passed. Resolution 2315, recommendation to award SF Poly Builders for bus stop improvements and not amount not to exceed, I'll get it out, 39,882. Nick.
Hi, good evening. So we had a grant that passed through Tri-County that's been in our possession for a few years, and we realized that if we don't use the funds, we're gonna have to give it back. So when the new COA changes came out, we realized we can use that money to add some new stops, some new pads, whatnot for the new stops. So we've identified locations for 5 landing pads, 1 shelter pad, so for the future, potentially put a bus shelter on it, and a sidewalk to connect to that bus shelter. So as you see before you, we're gonna put a few on the routes, 2 on Wisconsin, 2 on University, 1 on Forest Hill, the whole Center for Living. A little over a year ago, they requested that we finish connecting a sidewalk that actually went nowhere, and then we put in that bus shelter pad there for them, because they were saying that some of their customers that come out, they have nowhere to go, and they're just walking through grass and dirt. So we went out there and measured, and that's our scope of work, so we're gonna put it in there if this is approved. So yes, it is recommended that the board award a contract to Poly Builders for the installation of ADA compliant bus stops in an amount not to exceed $39,882. We would hope to get on the schedule for the spring.
I just have one question. A few meetings ago, Jeff had questioned how some of our bus stops and how they look. Is this helping any of that, or is this just completely places that you're
Well,
putting things?
my concern is that a lot of the plexiglass panels are all busted out.
Those are 2 separate issues. We're still trying to come up with solutions for that, either just replacing the plexiglass. You can't put glass in them, so we're trying to do plexi. Problem with plexi is it gets dark and faded real quick over time, so there's some other ideas that we're looking at for that.
But
This
these
is,
are
this
so-
is different, this is putting in brand new pads for the new changes.
Tell me what a pad is.
So when you get out of the bus, that's the landing pads where the customer would actually step on, instead of
Okay.
stepping on like dirt or
Got it.
nothing. So to make an ADA, you put the pad in, and they have to connect to a sidewalk.
Got it.
So we went out and identified locations that we could put in some new pads, landing pads, bus stop pads. Everybody kind of calls it differently, so we just kind of started calling them bus stop landing pads. Then the shelter pad is just this huge pad that you could put an actual shelter on. It's all concrete work.
Thank you.
I think you said this at the beginning, but this is, a follow from some of our grant money from the, Tri-County, Planning Commission from a few years ago. Is that those, okay, all right, I remember this now.
We had used the grant, I forget what we used the majority of it for. It was a long time ago. We just had a balance left over. So then Tri-County said we can use it for X, Y, and Z, so we chose to use the money for this.
We actually identified about 78 landing pads.
Yeah.
And we got such a great deal on them, we had leftover money.
Yep, that's what it was for. Yeah. We had put in pads, gosh, what was it, 3-4 years ago? We still didn't put in enough pads, so then we had extra money. So luckily, we still had some extra money we could use for the new COA stops, new bus stop routes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Good. Roll call vote, please.
Okay.
Trustee,
Approved.
trustee Lowe. Trustee Lowe. Right, come up with that. I'm recovering from that shock. Trustee Hare,
Approved.
trustee Polk,
Approved.
thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Trustee, Knox,
Approved.
trustee McBride.
Motion passed. Next, resolution 2316, authorization to provide or proceed, sorry, with 111 Van Buren eminent domain legal services. 111.
For some of you, this may be a repeat resolution. What happened with the first one, we only had it marked for $5,000, and the person at 111 Van Buren Street didn't play very nice, so we're going to court, and so the legal costs have exceeded the $5,000. So we don't know. We've got an estimate where we're going to be. Probably between $10,000 to $17,000. But we didn't put a dollar amount in there. But we will keep it underneath my authority. So, and then when we get done, we'll let you guys know. Question?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I thought we clarified it before, but you're saying 10,000 more or 5,000 to make it 10? Are you saying 10 more?
10,000 more over the 5. Yeah.
And then you're saying that might not cover it
That's why we've got a range of,
from,
I've heard like 17,000 as a max, so. But
17,000 more or 17?
no, 17 as a
Total.
total, yeah.
including the 5 we already did, or 17 plus the 5?
No, 17 max with the 5.
Okay, so I swore with you
You
to
got
do
into
this.
that.
But break this down for me as to what is gonna cost that much money? You're just estimating this for court costs and all that kind of stuff?
Correct, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there's been depositions with evaluators and people that have looked at the property from the, I don't know what the other guys call them, from their side of the board. He's had to evaluate deposition, and it seems like every time he gets somebody in there, then they change. So he's had to do 2 or 3 depositions on 2 or 3 different people. And so that's part of the escalating cost. The judge retired, the new judge went on vacation. So we got a court date sometime in January, we hope. So it's just a bunch of little stuff that keeps dragging this on.
Okay,
So-
but this 17 has nothing to do with what we're gonna have to pay for the property, correct?
Correct. This is just for legal services only.
And we are paying these legal services to whom? Is that
These
Mr.
will be to
Wambacher?
Mr. Wambacher, yes.
Okay.
And there'll be some other fees like court reporters and that in this 17,000, hopefully.
And this is over and above his retainer?
Yes. Yes, this is outside retainer contract money. Yeah. There was some dispute on that too, but this was above and beyond retainer work.
Now, what is this property to be used as?
It'll be used as parking lot. It's the one house sitting over here.
Yeah.
We've got basically two properties left for parking lot, so. But all the grant, or all the money for the attorney, for the property is covered by a grant from IDOT, so it won't,
We'll get reimbursed.
will be reimbursed, correct?
So, and one other question, this was because the person, we never could come to negotiation on a fair amount with the owner. So then from an eminent domain perspective, what's the amount, we know the amount that we'll pay for the property, or that has to go through the process to be figured out as well?
Yeah, right now, it's a number between like 250,000 and 34,000. So that's where the judge and, I think it's just a judge, no, it's gonna be a jury trial. So that'll be where the jury lands, somewhere between that number. Yeah, that's why we haven't had any luck negotiating.
This number should take us through that trial. This number,
Yes, correct, yeah. Yeah, this should get us everything done, so.
Could it be
So by the
done?
end of January, we should have it done.
all right, any other questions?
Usually when these other guys come back up here, their resolutions go like that.
But their resolutions weren't $12,000 off either.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, that-
But, yeah,
Well, we thought the guy was gonna negotiate, he didn't, so that's why numbers just kept going.
just one final question. So
Yes.
this money we're talking about is actually to pay Mr. Wambacher to represent us in court.
Correct,
And then maybe some miscellaneous people along the side.
correct.
Okay. Tell me why you picked 17,000 amount. I mean, why not 10 more or 5 more or just how that amount come?
He had a list of hours that he's put into this project, plus the depositions and things like that. So
Okay.
that's where it's all come from, so.
Okay.
And it was pretty archaic. I can't really figure out how it all came to, but at the end of the day, that was the number that they said. So.
I don't see that amount in this.
No, we didn't put it in there. Just because we weren't sure where it was gonna end, and we didn't want to have to come back a third time, because we knew it wouldn't go very well.
Well, I don't like okaying it without an amount in there. That just, like I said, I'm 1 of 5.
Unfortunately, we're still playing with, depending on if it gets settled or if something else comes up, it could cost us more too. So that's why we didn't want to put an amount in. But if it does go up to my 25,000, I'll come back to talk to you.
I don't like that. I don't like that it can go from 17 up to 25 and we won't know until after if it goes up to 25. I mean, he's speculating how many hours he's gonna spend on this I would rather give him a limit, and then if he exceeds that limit of what we give him, then you come back. I don't want to do this without an amount in here, because that's carte blanche. I can't, I'm not comfortable with that. But that's just my opinion.
So you want to, so you would suggest we have a not to exceed amount?
I would. And then if it exceeds that, then they can come back like others do. So,
Because we should have 2 board meetings before the court date now, so.
Makes sense.
So do we want to make an amendment to the resolution, not to exceed?
Do you want to put it on the December board meeting?
right,
Yeah.
with the amount of not to exceed 17, because that's what you
So
say.
So we want to put it on the December, we can't make a an amendment to this resolution.
The agenda is set.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but I think you vote down this resolution or you add an amendment to it.
Can't you just table it? Can't they just
Yeah.
table it?
Mhm.
Can't they table it until the next meeting?
You put on pending business. I would point out Mr. Wambach will be here the next meeting. To answer your questions. You're welcome.
So do we want to, so do we vote this one down?
Or you
Or
can
do we
table it
just-
till the next meeting.
Table it.
Table,
Let's
okay.
table it.
Yeah.
I would call it pending,
Okay,
pending business as opposed to table.
okay. All right, then we'll do that. We'll table resolution 2316 to the December meeting, pending new information.
And I will make sure he has a detailed breakout of everything, so.
Thank you.
This question is sort of relative. What the heck will this guy do with this property if we don't? Do we have big plans or? Do you
He's
know?
renting it out now, so, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, yeah, he won't own the property anymore. We'll end up with it. So we just don't know at what price.
Also, it is occupied. Was there a different property that we dealt with that was an abandoned property? Or is this the same one that we've been doing this whole time?
He just put somebody in it last month.
Oh, okay.
He decided since it was going to January that he might as well start renting it out again, even though he didn't rent it all summer. Yeah, they've been in it 1 month and,
Gotcha.
yeah, January.
Any other questions? Thanks, sir. Yeah, financial report for October 2022, board bills approval. Christine.
Thank you. All right, to summarize, October 2022 financial activity for your approval. In this month, we didn't pay out for the construction project until the early in November. So you will see a November expenditure have a 2 big number. I think one is 1.9 million. One is for the October for the 2.1 million. For the operating expense, we spend 36% in the wage and 31% for the benefit, 24% for the service, 8% for the material and supplies, and 1% for the miscellaneous. In October, we compare with our budget monthly. It seems like we have 2.6% less than our monthly projection. Therefore, staff recommend board approve the October operating expense with the dollar amount $2,167,872.96.
Questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion? So moved. Second,
Second.
roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ahart,
Approved.
trustee Harrell,
Approved.
trustee Paul. Approved. Trustee Knox,
Approved.
trustee McBride, approved.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Any other business coming before the board? Hearing none, I'd like to motion to enter into executive closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2 C1 concerning employee issues, including employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of CityLink. I get a motion. Thank you. General manager, can you stick around, please?
But, pardon me, you should do a roll call.
When we get in?
Now, let's go in.
Oh, now?
Let's go
Okay.
in, yes.
Okay, thank you. We get a roll call vote to enter into executive session.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
We need a roll call vote to enter into executive session.
You got it. You stay alert. Okay. Trustee Ahart,
Aye.
trustee Hare.
Aye.
Trustee Cole. Trustee Knox,
Aye.
trustee McBride.
Yes. Go ahead and stick around. We want legal to stick around.
He wants, if it's up to you,